You can identify as a healthy person, but if you have the words are powerful. If you say things like, I am fat, I am lazy, I am a pig, whatever, the things that you would never say to anybody else, but you say to yourself, that has to change.
There's a part it's really challenging because like you want to change these habits or you want to make these certain moves that you see yourself in, but it's really easy to find yourself back in the same patterns.
The exercise, honestly, is the easy part. The nutrition is the more difficult part for people, and also changing how we look at ourselves.
Coaches have an ability to take us into a desired future state that we can see and imagine. And unlike a therapist, right, who takes you back to the past and the old stories,
exercise beats any antidepressant any single day. The studies, the research show it, right? How you age is really determinant on so much in terms of health and wellness. People will say, well, diabetes runs in my family. No, it doesn't. You're not running. So there's that, but just because your family is predisposed does not mean that is your fate. If you look at various religions, they might not agree with anything else, but almost every major religion has a fasting period in it, right? Because it is, therapeutic. It is a way to cleanse the body and the soul and the mind. Because I can tell you this, after about 48 hours of fasting, you are crystal clear.
Welcome to Unlock My Coach, a podcast for seasoned, soulful, and successful coaches. In every episode, you'll hear incredible stories from coaches who are building their brands and making their mark in the booming $20 billion coaching industry. Who am I? Stacey Gonzalez, your host and founder of Unlock, a digital marketing and personal branding agency that helps coaches launch, market, and grow their businesses. Ready to unlock your coach? I know I've got your key in here somewhere. Welcome to today's episode, where we dive into soulful strategies and meaningful stories to help you create a life and business that feels truly aligned. I'm thrilled to introduce a special guest today who's all about transforming lives through simple, sustainable wellness strategies. Bre Sprague is a dedicated health coach and founder of My Coach Bre, where she empowers busy professionals to get fit, melt fat, and feel absolutely fabulous. With her experience in exercise science, nutrition, and mindset coaching, Bre helps her clients unlock their health potential without restrictive diets. I know we all love that. Or rigid rules. Also love that. Her journey from battling disordered eating to becoming a wellness expert is nothing short of inspiring, and it's a testament to the power of mindset in creating lasting change. Bre, we're so happy to have you here today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on and talking about some of my favorite stuff, which is life transformation. And a side note, my cat, Charles Barkley, may be joining us in this interview because he is now awake and thinks it's time to party.
I love that your cat is named Charles Barkley. I too have a cat, my first time ever, whose name is Bam Bam, who ran away today. So it just seems appropriate that the cats are having their own moments here.
Yes, well, I hope Bam Bam makes his way home, or her way home.
Yes, no, we found him. We found him. We're all good. It was a little, a first-time kitty mom. I'm a first-time kitty mom, so I'm learning a lot of new things. So all animals are welcome. So talk to me. Tell me, what is your definition of an online health coach?
That is such a great question, because now, you get on any social media platform and you have a lot of people who mean well, but are honestly, quite frankly, not qualified, right? And I think consumers need to really spend time identifying any coach that they're working with, right? And so I look at an online health coach as, first of all, someone who is totally passionate about providing value to help people live their best lives, right? Because a lot of people, you have some amazing coaches that are very specific on, like, if they're bodybuilding or whatever it is. Like, when you look at the general mass, most people just want to live better lives. And so, I tell people, like, an online health coach is really focused on the general population. For most health coaches, just living a better life. How do you have somebody who knows where to get reliable information? Education is an important thing, really making sure that, you're working with somebody who's credible. And, in general, as I'm rambling a little bit here, is just ready to change some lives and impact and motivate people.
Mm. Well, that impacting and that motivating is something that I know you know really well. I know I've seen you create content. You've created videos of yourself out there. You're a fitness instructor. Tell us a little bit about what that's like to kind of put yourself out there as, a health leader that we
Mhm.
all aspire. There's always something we can do to be a
Mhm.
little more healthy and a little more well, for sure. So, can you talk a little bit about some of the successes and some of the things that you found for your own well-being journey?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. A lot of times people ask, how did I get into health and wellness and fitness? And I joke poorly, but I'll say, childhood trauma. But, I got into
Love all about
exercise.
that.
Yeah. Got
Yeah.
into exercise science because, in the 80s, I wasn't exactly super heavy, but I was put on my first diet at 7 years old. And you live a lifestyle, and, in the 90s, you see all these women who are emaciatedly thin, the Gwyneth Paltrow look then. And body image is something that I have struggled with, and I know most men and women actually struggle with, right? And so for me, I decided, I was a non-traditional student, otherwise known as a college dropout. And I decided to go back to college when I was 23 years old with a baby. My son was 7 months old. And all I knew is that if I eat the right foods and I move my body, I feel amazing. And I knew I could help other people do the same thing. So, at 23 years old, I had no idea really what I was going to do, but I ended up doing exercise science and getting a business minor because lo and behold, my career morphed into this business. And as online changed, when I left training in the gym, the whole career I had changed. I was able to reach more people. And that was really it, is that, I had this evolution in this journey and just a desire not only to get myself well, but I knew other people could feel this way. And I mean, exercise beats any antidepressant any single day. The studies, the research show it, right? And for me, that was what helped me. And I knew in my soul that other people would get the same types of results.
Mm. So you really have that ability inside to help people find that part of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about how how we kind of go through those transformations, like when you start working with a client? Because I know for me, there's a part that's it's really challenging because like you want to change these habits or you want to make these certain moves that you see yourself in,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really easy to find yourself back in the same patterns. So can you
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about like how, because I know it is about being in the gym and I know it is about nutrition and those are important, but about the mindset
Mm-hmm.
pieces that you walk people through and kind of that experience.
Well, and great question. One thing I didn't answer before was putting myself out there. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of group exercise, and I make videos about other things on LinkedIn related to sales and health and wellness. Um, I always joke I should have probably been an actress. So I have that extroverted side to me, and I also have that deep mission to reach more people. And fortunately, by authentically being myself, I get people who resonate with the message that I share. But when it comes to mindset, because the exercise honestly is the easy part. The nutrition is the more difficult part for people. And also changing how we look at ourselves. When I became a grandmother 2.5 years ago, I made a decision that my granddaughter was never going to know me as anything other than fit and healthy, right? Because if you look at the statistics, they're really terrifying with what our future generations, even kids born after the year 2000. Part of my motivation to go back to school, I read this book called The Culprit and the Cure, and it was all about how children after the year 2000, because of lifestyle habits, will not outlive their parents. First generation to not outlive their parents. And that is terrifying. And it's because of the food that they eat and also because of the lack of movement, right? And so for me, I really get into the mindset first. I look at how do people identify, because You know, like if you can identify as an athlete, you can identify as a healthy person, you know, but if you have the words are powerful. If you say things like, I am fat, I am lazy, I am a pig, whatever, the things that you would never say to anybody else, but you say to yourself, that has to change. That has to change. And I still have to work on that every single day, you know, for myself, because those old habits die hard and those negative voices can still be there. So, you know, I just am always very transparent. I can't, it's like the whole, you can lead a horse to water, right? I cannot do it for you. I cannot want it more for you than you want it. But you have to decide, how do you want to live your life? And I get pretty, I poke the bear, is basically what it is. You know, if nothing changes, then what? Right? I know in 6 months, if you want to lose 20 pounds, if nothing changes, then what? Well, you're still holding on to 20 pounds, maybe more. You know, if you, how you age is really determinant on so much in terms of health and wellness. People will say, well, diabetes runs in my family. No, it doesn't. You're not running. So there's that, you know, but, you know, just because your family is predisposed does not mean that is your fate, and you get to have that decision. So I'll ask clients that marginal decade of your life, that last 10 years, how do you want to be? Because, you know, I had my two grandmothers. My one grandmother at 61 died of alcoholism. You know, you know, just through the nature of the disease, she abused her body and it finally gave out on her, right? And 61, I'm 45, 61 is right around the corner. And my other grandmother, you know, had great genes, died at 97 years old, but even though she had never dealt with obesity, she was maybe 100 pounds, 110 pounds soaking wet when she passed away. She was frail. She was so frail those last, you know, 5 years. And, you know, you see people who, there's a guy at my gym, he's in his 80s and he is crushing it still because he's made those lifelong habits and he's decided, but those habits can start at any point. People are like, oh, I'm too old. No, you're not. No, you're not. You can make a decision to change your lifestyle habits at any point. So, you know, that's really kind of what it comes down to, is just also being really transparent and honest with people. If nothing changes, then what? Then what?
Those are important questions. And those are honest questions that people, when they work with a coach, whether it's a health coach, a, you know, transformation, like wherever you kind of land that, we talk a lot about that in the work I do, specifically with coaches, because coaches have an ability to take us into a desired future state
Mm-hmm.
that we can see and imagine. And unlike a therapist, right, who
Mm-hmm.
takes you back to the past and the old
Mm-hmm.
stories, I think
Mm-hmm.
the power of coaching is truly around that ability to be able to look in the mirror more deeply with somebody who can take us into places maybe that we've never gone before.
100%.
Certainly, right? That might be nutritionally, that might be physically, but that
Mm-hmm.
also is, like, to your point about breaking some of those mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about, and I've got a couple more questions, but I'm
Okay.
particularly curious about the fasting and
Ah.
some of those pieces that you do. As somebody who has fasted
Mm-hmm.
and done just water fasts for a
Mm-hmm.
time, for my own inner cleansing purposes, rituals, practices. I know you do longer than that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to, you know, kind of just get some insights from your experience of fasting,
Mm-hmm.
and what we can kind of learn about that.
Oh, I love this question because fasting is nature's way of healing your body. It really is. Balancing your hormones. Yes, you can experience weight loss, but it is such a beautiful way to heal your body. And you know, when I graduated college in 2004. It's so crazy now that it's been 20 years, right? And I, of course, the fitness industry has and the, you know, and don't get me wrong, I love me a Quest bar once in a while, still processed food, but it's Quest bar, but better than some of the other options, still processed food. Because that's part of the problem too. People are eating food like product, not food. Um, so when it comes to fasting, when I graduated college and I started talking, you know, it's not in the financial best interest for any of these, you know, health food companies to say, oh, you know, don't eat at all, you know, don't eat for a period of time, you know, don't snack because your muscles are going to waste. And that was the most and I look back and it's completely asinine, like thing, but it is, if you're having somebody snack every couple hours, well, guess what? That's good business, right? That's great business. And we didn't used to snack. And I can get into the whole thing in the McGovern report, but we're not going to go there right now. So I first found fasting. I was in my early 30s, and there was this book, and the book was called The 8 Hour Diet. It was by Men's Health, right? And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, what do you mean? You mean I can eat, essentially anything I want, which not really, just so y'all know, during those 8 hours, and I'm just constricting time because even though I had all the education, I didn't think, I was so programmed that my muscles were going to waste if I didn't eat every few hours. And I was preaching that, to my clients. And I was like, you mean like I eat this short period of time, it gives my body time. My insulin's not on this roller coaster over. Because what people think, the misinformation people have, they're like, oh, it's calories in, calories out. Look at my fitness pal. Sorry, you can see I'm pretty passionate about this. And it has nothing. The number one myth that people have bought is that it has something to do with the calorie. It's all about the calories, and it's not. It's about insulin. It's an insulin response. And part of the reason we have type 2 diabetes at the crisis level that we have, and now we have type 3 diabetes, which is sugar on the brain, which causes Alzheimer's and everything else, is because we have people from babies, infant age, constantly on this insulin roller coaster. And if you want to see, people are like, oh, it's about the calorie. No, if you look at a true type 1 diabetic who is a brittle diabetic, their pancreas has failed, which is only about 5% of all diabetics, right? If you look at the pictures and you start giving them insulin and they start filling out, right? They start gaining weight because insulin, that hormone, the hormones, out of hundreds of hormones in your body, it is one hormone that helps your body take that energy and turn it into stored energy to get into the cell, whether it's muscle repair with protein or stored body fat. And so, and you need essential body fat. There's essential body fat you have to have just to be alive, right? But like fasting itself, it's nature's remedy. And there's so many different ways to fast, and people fast, they don't even fast. I mean, if there's one thing that millions of people on this world agree with, if you look at various religions, they might not agree with anything else, but almost every major religion has a fasting period in it, right? Because it is, therapeutic. It is a way to cleanse the body and the soul and the mind. Because I can tell you this, after about 48 hours of fasting, you are crystal clear, right? Your brain, you get this surge of dopamine and you feel amazing. So when I look at fasting, especially now that I'm in, my perimenopausal years, I work with a lot of women who are perimenopausal. I explain to them the balance of the hormones because your body can do this naturally. You can actually, after fasting, that whole you're going to, lose muscle is a bunch of crap. First of all, if you don't have any muscle to begin with, you can't lose what you don't have. Right. And so, not that you're not going to lose any muscle with extended fast, that is part of it, but most people don't extended fast. And you end up, with women, perimenopausal years, you can naturally balance out those hormones by different fasting hours. And, because men have one 24-hour cycle, women have a 28 to 32 day hormonal cycle, right? So it's really important to know your body, to know how to fast and find what works for you. I have a guy who I met on LinkedIn. He's amazing, absolutely amazing. He's getting ready to turn 60. He's down 76 pounds. 76 pounds. All I did was start talking about fasting. And he goes, oh, you mean I just got to compress my eating window and it's going to work? Yeah. And his goal, he meets his doctor in a couple weeks, is to stay off of diabetes medication, right? And his blood work is normal and he's losing the weight and he feels great. And he's doing 2 36-hour fasts per week because that fasting schedule works for him. But those are the results. Those are the exciting things that can happen, is that you truly regain your health. And if your butt looks better in the whole process, then that's an added win, right? But if you're looking at training for life, eating for life, taking care of that gut microbiome, it's really not that hard. This is what has to change. This is what has to change. Like when I did that 22-day water fast I posted about on LinkedIn, people were like, how did you not eat for 22 days? I said, because I drew a line in the sand, I made a decision. And I also did things like test my blood. I made sure I rested when I needed to rest, all those things. But I made a decision to do this. So as you can see, I'm very passionate about fasting. I can't believe I bought the lie for so long that it was you have to eat all the time. And what's sad about going into future generations, part of the reason I'm so passionate about this is when you look at things like type 2 diabetes, and people will say, well, it's their fault. They ate so much. Did a 2-year-old? We have 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds with type 2 diabetes. Did they just eat too much? No. Their parents who didn't know better, and I can't blame the people because they're all programmed. Big food, big pharma. I used to work for big pharma. It's part of the problem. We're looking at, I say this is the capitalist, but you're looking at big business. But a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, they didn't do anything wrong. But they're part of they're having the downside, the effects of it because their parents just didn't know. So I'm sorry, I'm very passionate about it.
Well, and it's an important topic, and it's an important thing for all of us to embrace when it comes to our health and well-being. Our health and
Mm-hmm.
well-being is our responsibility. Nobody's going to be able to do that for you. And fasting is a way and a mechanism that
Mm-hmm.
we can use and embrace as a part of understanding who we are
Mm-hmm.
without consuming. And we
Absolutely.
live in a society, and what you're saying, right? There are all these things being thrown at us, and we live in a society and a culture where consumption becomes a way of life,
Mm-hmm.
that to have any sort of limitation placed upon us
Mm-hmm.
individually becomes really challenging. And
Mm-hmm.
so by fasting, what I
Mm-hmm.
have found is by putting some restrictions and some limitations on myself,
Mm-hmm.
causes parts of me that may not often be explored in my day-to-day life when I have a full belly, essentially,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And so that it allows me an opportunity to go in deeply with myself, and become the observer and learn and grow. Because I'll tell you what, when you're fasting, and you get to like day 3, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, there's nothing even to like there's no even reason to walk by the kitchen and look in the thing. Like, it's a very, you recognize how much time you
Mm-hmm.
actually have available to you and how much the mind is unfocused. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have found fasting to be a really powerful tool, along with many tools in the well-being toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew you did some extended fasts. I've never quite gone that long, but
Well,
certainly it's
not many
interesting.
people,
Yes.
I always tell my clients, let's master the 16-8.
Yeah, let's
Let's
just try. Yes, yes.
master,
Let's
right?
try. Let's try a week not eating anything after 7 p.m. Let's just start there.
Exactly. Let's
Yeah,
start there
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's like anything, you want to set yourself up for success. I did not start doing extended fasting until about 6 years ago, I want to say.
yeah.
And even at that, you know, for me, like one of the things I don't do personally, some people do. For me, because I've had a history of disordered eating, I cannot make my extended fast about weight loss. Because it'll be, if I have to get
Mm,
on the scale every day, it's going to mess with between my ears. So my extended fast for myself, it's that mindset of going, this is healing. This is me taking care of
mm,
my body. This is me fighting cancer, right? Because you start fasting, your body starts, through autophagy, which they only recognized through the Nobel Prize recently. You're talking 2016. Your body starts getting rid of the garbage, so to speak. So your
well,
body is doing what it's supposed to
and
do.
I love that, because you are showcasing the physical benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to your point earlier about, every religious practice has
Mm-hmm.
this around there. Why? Well, because it's good for both the body and the soul. And
Absolutely.
so you don't have to do either, right? Like you can pick what you could pick body, you could pick soul, you could pick both. I don't typically look at the body benefits because I know they're there. I
Mm-hmm.
trust that whole process works for me. I want to follow my intuition. Okay, 7 days feels about right for me. What am
Mm-hmm.
I going to notice? And so I love that you're kind of bringing out these natural benefits physically that come in terms of a cellular structural level. Okay, we're at the point in
I
the
know.
podcast where I'm going to ask you some questions and they're kind of rapid fire. So feel free to just whatever comes to mind, let it kind of come out. Okay.
I like it. I'm excited.
The value of working with a coach is
Expertise beyond your own.
the book I always recommend,
The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Jason Fung.
the superpower I bring to my clients,
Passion.
my first client taught me,
Patience.
the wildest dream I'm manifesting right now.
Oh, it's a tough one. To be able to reach thousands and thousands of people and help them realize that they too can do this.
I recharge and refocus by.
As an extrovert, I actually need downtime, so I digitally detox and take time away from people for short periods of time to be able to recharge.
If my coaching business was a song, it would be
um, okay, the only thing I can think about is "Baby Got Back," only because that's the song that popped in my head. When I'm working with people, we're doing squats. I talk about the function of your glutes, but then I'm like, come on, we want to keep it high and tight too.
That's great. You can pick whatever song you want. The biggest unlock I've learned being a coach.
You need to set boundaries. You can't, as much as you love people, you need to set boundaries for yourself.
Who is the coach you most admire?
I would say he's passed away now, but in 2015, I did the Bob Proctor coaching program. And you're talking 60 years of coaching people, of passion, of helping people, of changing lives. So he has, rest in peace, passed away, but Bob Proctor was life changing for me.
Hmm. In 5 years, I hope people understand the coaching industry is.
The best investment you can make.
Bre Sprague, thank you so much for being here with us today on the Unlock podcast. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to do that is LinkedIn is a big platform for me to message me on LinkedIn, but also Instagram. I'm at my Coach Bre Instagram. They can message me there as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.